Slay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to episode 11 of Slay House Review. Sorry for the 1 week absence. We'll get into it. I'll touch on it. But we have a lot to talk about this episode.
Lots to discuss.
I mean, I don't want to set us up for disappointment and then this end up being like quite a boring occasion, but I feel like there's a lot brewing in the air.
There is.
I'm a little bit freaked out. You know, we did that gang stalking episode, or at least I used gang stalking as the headline for our Christian Rapinion episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a pretty like hostile comment from someone who actually believed to be gang stalked, saying like, how dare you use gang stalking? Like, this isn't about gang stalking. But now I genuinely feel like me and you are being gang stalked by Deborah Treisman.
I feel like she's...
And Deborah, I just, like, literally, like, you... Actually, I wanted to say, like, leave us alone, but, like, no.
Actually,
like,
we kind of like it.
Yeah, like, if I were to ponder a little bit more,
Bring us
like,
your
I guess I do feel like she is watching because, okay, to give context, last week's story, which we did not cover, was by some ancient bitch on her deathbed who, was once a UIC professor in the writing program, which was the writing program that the two of us were a part of. And this week is a story which Chicago is in the title by some beautiful, gorgeous French woman who is also having a novel forthcoming where she writes about a bunch of stand-up comedians in Chicago getting their MFAs. So it's like Deborah.
Like, Deborah, if you want to interview us, just, like, email us. Stop trying to send us these messages.
And no, she's going to find a story next week about, like, two podcasters that get, like, violently murdered because of their, like, hateful opinions.
Oh, my God.
And then the world's going to be, like, so happy that they die.
Right. I mean, yeah, and then it'll be, like, she'll get rid of us before she even has to deal with us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then no one's going to remember us, but they're going to love this. You know, and you know what? Someone's going to take a hit of their vape and then move on after reading that story. And then a week later, we're going to turn up dead and nobody's going to care. They're going to say it was a suicide. Yeah,
maybe they did it in conjunction with that story. Like, they learned something. They got the takeaway message.
Troubled. Yeah. They were so mad that their podcast didn't take off that I guess their suicide was understandable in a way.
Right.
Deborah Treisman sitting there like,
got him. But, you know, I mean, if all this to say, we're not stopping Deborah Treisman. We're just going to keep...
Unless you give us a job, we're not stopping.
We're keep on keeping it on.
And, you know, you can... do you remember back in the day on Tumblr, there was that, like, famous kind of conservative, like, provocateur blogger, and she was really ugly. And it was a meme on Tumblr back then, like, you can buy my silence for $5,000 a week. And she had, like, a really big nose, and everybody would make fun of her.
What did she write about?
I don't know, just like anti-social justice warrior stuff. And I remember everybody would always dunk on her and get like so mad because it was kind of brilliant on her behalf. Like, you know, big fish, small pond being an anti-SJW blogger on Tumblr.
In 20...
But yeah, in like 2011 at the peak. But yes, Deborah Treisman, you can buy our silence with a job for the two of us, but I get the impression that you enjoy needling us in this way. Yeah. So, you know, the Expose episodes coming up every week, I pull up tabs to like do research about you, and then I just get distracted and never do. So
but it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's in the pipeline.
Yeah. As soon as we get focused, it's over for you.
Anyways, this what's this week's story called?
So this week's story is called Chicago on the Seine, which feels, you know, like it's targeting us once again because, of course,
I actually don't. I mean, I really feel like I don't have anything meaningful to say about this story. It's by a woman named Camille
Bordas.
And she's stunning.
And
like,
she's gorgeous.
So
she's literally so pretty.
Literally,
hasn't aged a day, and she's like 30.
Beautiful French woman, milky skin, freckles, big eyes, so cute. Cute, dark, long hair, mischievous little smirk.
I know.
Devin pulled up her picture after we got done reading it, and I screamed. I was mad.
Like, "Are you fucking kidding me?
Die, die, bitch, die!" Like it's. There's only so much injustice in the world that I can deal with.
Right.
And again, I feel like Deborah Treisman is trying to...
She knows how to push our buttons. We are unfortunately in the Midwest and have no hope of going to France, much less being an expat somewhere.
Much less being like so sexy
and hot. A bilingual, like successful author who by the age of 22 had published a fucking novel.
That won an award in France. Why? You know, she's already had like 10 stories in the fucking New Yorker.
Meanwhile, I'm ugly, untalented,
I know.
broke, and living in the Midwest. Like,
it is what it is.
Girl,
truly.
I guess it is what it is, but
But I wish it wasn't this way.
I wish it wasn't. If I could be anyone else,
I would
maybe
be. I
I'd
would
choose
be
her.
Camille.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would choose to switch. I mean, actually, kind of an interesting segue into this story,
Oh,
where
yeah,
at one
absolutely.
point there's sort of a fantasy of the narrator wanting to switch bodies with a dead person.
Yes.
I would choose to switch bodies with Camille
I wonder if
Bordas.
she's an ugly husband though. She's like married.
I don't even care. She's
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
like
You know,
flying back and forth.
If you're hot like that, like so like French, like sort of coquette, like
Yeah, so
Lolita hot,
perfect.
even at 37, I'm sure sex with ugly guys would be even more spiritually gratifying.
Oh yeah,
Let me
I
see this
mean,
again. Okay, 12 seconds.
absolutely.
You know, it's like God. Then like everything you do is like a little game. You know, like
I know,
oh,
you
you're
can really
hot.
get
I'm
away
gonna
with
get this. I'm gonna publish this story in the New Yorker. I'm like just so
Right.
sexy, like
Right.
whatever. You
Oh,
know,
my friend just called and she's like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna put another story in the New Yorker to
my
advertise
husband's
for your
so
novel."
ugly, but it's like so fun.
Whatever.
It's so cute. Like oh yeah, I'm also like a professor at like the University of Florida. Like I'm a writing teacher, but like it's like so like I'm so hot. So like
Incredible.
you know.
Incredible
Okay.
story.
Anyways, the story.
So the story is
I'll
about.
let you-
I'm just
I don't
sort of
think I have the
fantasizing about my like
bandwidth.
French
I know.
life. Yeah, this may have to be a short episode because I feel like we can't kind of get anywhere with it. But anyway, so the story is about. It is told in first person. A narrator who works at the American Embassy in Paris. His particular role is quote unquote, what is it? Repatriation.
Yeah.
Meaning that he deals with specifically like when people are very, very sick abroad, like Americans, and they have to be like med flighted out and or dead bodies. So people who die abroad, if you die in Paris and you're an American citizen in the world of this story, this guy, and I don't think we ever know his name, but he's going to coordinate. Yeah, Mr. White. He's going to coordinate your body getting its way back to the good old US of A, potentially even Chicago O'Hare. So this woman dies while she's on a business trip, and you know our narrator is tasked with speaking to her next of kin, which is her daughter, who is somewhere in Boston. Again, I think I'm being followed by Deborah Treisman. Like, okay. And the daughter's like, hey, like, I don't, you know, she's just not afraid to admit, she's like, I kind of believe in ghosts, and I think like someone should go sit with my mom's dead body in the morgue in Paris so that she knows she doesn't feel lonely and her spirit stays with the body, so that when she gets flown back in the cargo hold of FedEx airplane or whatever, you know, the ghost will still be within the body and she won't be stuck abroad as a ghost. So the narrator says, okay, I'll go do it. And he goes to the morgue, and there's like a cute nurse there with purple Crocs, and they talk a little bit, and that's pretty much it.
And then also there's like, he talks to his dad who like still lives in Chicago, and I don't know, it's like they don't really have like a close relationship or whatever. And then also at like the embassy, the American embassy he works there with like a woman who is his ex-girlfriend, and like she comes along and talks to him before he goes to the morgue. We don't really learn anything about her either, but she's like kind of like a jealous cunt because he would like never let her get emotionally involved in his life. Oh, his own mom is like dead, and his mom's his mom's not from Boston. He lies and says that his mom is from Boston to like reassure this woman on the phone, who's this woman who actually died. And then there's this big thing throughout the whole story. This story does a lot of like MFA trickery that I just don't find necessarily valuable. Like just, it's like you take one core object, and we've seen this come up in a lot of New Yorker stories, and you just like riff on that. And it's like
object.
I often found myself when we were reading this, I would just like sigh, like all right. Like there was one part, so he's like talking about him and his dad and how they bonded over watching a bunch of movies, but they had to watch them on VHS, and so they'd like rewrite the tapes, but then eventually after rewriting the tapes so many times, like little bits of other movies would pop up in other movies. And then as he's like on his way back from the morgue the next morning, he's like, oh, I always, or maybe it's when he was on his way to the morgue, he's like, everywhere I go, no matter what foreign country I'm in, I always picture it's some specific building in Chicago over whatever body of water I'm by. And I'm like, okay, yes, I get it. Like, yes, reoccurring. Should have been
imagery. Like, I pictured Trump Towers right over right over the sun. And like, this story should be called Trump Tower over the sun.
It absolutely should be. Absolutely.
just as like a we're not sure what to make of this sort of.
And but you know, there were so many other things that he did with this too. Oh, and also just like this whole notion of ghosts and like presences. lingering beyond
the department store.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Forgot
it
about
happens after he goes to the morgue. He like follows a tourist family,
Right.
like from a cafe into a department store, and
Right.
like
Pretends he has family that he's shopping for back in
yeah,
America.
because the guy that he followed, like the dad of the family, like asks him, like, "What are you doing here?" And he says, like, "Oh, I'm here for like a conference." And he's like thinking in his head, like, "Oh, I'm prepared to like lie and say I'm like
Right.
the person who just died at the morgue. Like, I'm just going to take on her life for the purpose of like
Right.
lying to this man." So
Right.
again, it's like a lot of like embodying different roles,
Right.
like taking
Which
pieces.
is interesting, but also kind of.
I don't know.
just
I don't
like-
feel like nothing came from that.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
didn't land anywhere that I felt deeply moved by, but it was like, okay, I see what's going on, and
Yeah, what would
It
you
was well
say
written,
was
the
like
prose
the
was nice.
operating like statement for this story?
Well,
like, what was it working?
the reason that I
towards-
say it should be like in all seriousness, like Trump Tower over the sun, is because it seemed like it was reaching towards this idea that like Americans have this sort of like
Yes.
lack of self-consciousness that is immediately obvious.
Yes, that was
in
what
Europe.
we kind of landed on at the end paragraph. It was all about kind of like Americanism.
Yeah, so it felt kind of like it kind of wanted to go down some sort of like American ideology is like kind of bad way, but it didn't actually do that. It didn't do that at all. And then it was like maybe it's about like wanting to be anyone other than yourself, but that didn't really seem to connect fully to any sort of sense of place. That was confusing to me.
It's very, I guess, yeah, you could interpret this in the sense that like we know that this narrator is someone who's like emotionally distant in the way that he talks about his
Right.
relationship with his father, and also what we learned from his ex-girlfriend, like talking about their relationship and like sort of
Right.
chiding him for like never telling her about his mother and this
But
and
I
that.
didn't care that much about it.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah,
that
I was just
problem
like-
of his.
and that's how I felt about just like, again, this like MFA trickery of just like riffing on something. It's like, yeah, like and it's the same, like if you were to give me a topic, say write a story that deals with ghosts and a dead
Right.
body, like yeah, I'm sure I could do the same thing in a 30-minute free write. You just riff on a topic. It's like whatever first kind of interesting sentiment comes to your mind about a thing,
Right.
you write it down, you make it into a little narrative, and then you draw little pieces to continue to flesh that out. But it's like, yeah, like those are all kind of like interesting touch points. But
Right.
again, I don't think she's necessarily like saying anything.
There's no real
I
like
don't really care.
it sort of exists in this moment that you read it and then you're like, okay, and
Yeah,
then
I
I
mean,
will probably
quintessential
hit your
puff of the vape, move on with your life.
on.
And I feel like out of every story that we've read so far, this kind of embodies this the most fully. Like, and
Yeah.
and that's why I'm having trouble kind of like talking about this in any like engaging
Yeah, it's
way,
like
in
nothing
any like
happens,
funny
but
way.
he doesn't
mean-
have a particularly idiosyncratic perspective either. That is that interesting. He being the narrator,
And I
like
will
it's just sort of
say-
like okay,
I will say she says in her interview that she like pared this down because this is a failed novel, and she's like she has like a full novel of this. And like, yeah, I can see why the novel version of this failed, and you had to like abandon ship and cut
Right.
it all down to a story. Because yeah, this seems fundamentally empty,
it's
Camille.
interesting.
And
but there's
Deborah,
nothing-
I don't think you needed to fucking publish it. Deborah, I understand this girl is gorgeous, and you
she's incredible.
published like 6 other of her fucking stories over the past 5 years, but maybe this one did not need to run. Food for thought.
It's well, I guess she does have a book that is coming out / came out about these comedians in Chicago, which I will not be reading
Which
because
I refuse
it
to
will,
read. I
like,
think it'll send
point
me
blank
over the
trigger
edge.
me. So
There's probably a character named Devin or like
Right.
Dina or like Deborah.
exactly, and I just like don't think my heart can take that. So all this to say, like, do I think that she's incredibly talented, beautiful, gorgeous, successful? Yes.
I
all
don't
of
think
those
she's incredibly
things.
talented. I
I
think
think
she's
she's
gorgeous.
like good at
No,
what
and
she's
the thing
doing.
that pisses me off is I was trying to find dirt on her. So what you do whenever you're trying to find dirt on anyone is you Google their name plus Reddit. And of course, the only Google results that came up were people saying like, I think the only contemporary fiction I've liked that I've read recently was blah, 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 blah by Camille, what was her name? Bordas. Camille Bordas. I really enjoyed this novel. Here's a compelling young voice in literature, Camille Bordas. And it's like, okay, of course. So this woman has had her whole life where people are just licking her fucking ass and slurping up whatever middle of the road fiction she has. Or I don't know. I mean, I probably just have a bone to pick, and I'm sure her novels are incredible.
You know, I probably won't be reading any of them, so
Yeah.
who's to say?
I will say, so I am pretty, I guess, grateful that we did take a week off, because so last week was a story by a woman named Laura Segal, and
Mhm.
again, a woman who is just pretty much on her deathbed, 96 years old, and still getting her stories published in the New Yorker. It's
You
it's
know.
it's getting to the point where, like, every week we're kind of returning to these core talking points, and I'm starting to get more and more agitated, not only with the fact of it all, but with, like, myself, that I have to keep on returning to this, but especially a 96-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Her story does not need to be running. But anyways, I was going to title that episode like a bunch of old Zionist sluts die or something, because that story was so weird in the sense that, like, and I thought it was a little bit like tone deaf of the New Yorker to run, like, or it was like either tone deaf or like based. No, there's a section of it where, like, all these dying old women are like death to Palestine. Like, they don't like literally say that, but it's like they have to Zoom every week because, like, all of them are dying, but they're like old friends, and like at one point they're like, we just hate these like social justice warriors, and then they're like, yeah, power to Israel, and I was like, and I was like, man, so I am at least glad that we did get to skip a week, because I couldn't stop shitting and puking for the entirety of last week. Because but I was thinking, like, maybe just like that rage bait title of like old Zionist slut dies, like, would have gotten us some engagement.
I mean, true.
Or perhaps would have gotten my account
suspended.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that story was like so UIC pilled. Like, I can absolutely see that woman was perhaps, like, if not the head of the department, like a very prominent member of the department, when a certain weightlifting pseudo lesbian that we both know was getting her start as a faculty member at the Seine school.
I'm looking. Oh wow! Oh, she won a Pulitzer.
I mean, this woman was very decorated. Again, it's like she's gonna die soon. Like, we really need to be publishing her work. I mean, the story was like, I would say that story was better than this one, but I would still give both of them a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, this one I'd give it like a 3. I thought it was fine. Out of 5.
You give it a 3?
I would give it a 3. Like, I thought the writing was good. I always like think that the writing is like decent in whatever they publish, like in terms of sentence level prose. And like there were some things I appreciated about this, like from that standpoint, but like overall it didn't necessarily do much for me.
Because she is kind of taking all of the ingredients that either of us really do find very sexy, like being an expat,
right?
You know, like
being an expat, being a liar.
Yes,
having
exactly.
an idiosyncratic job.
Somewhat like a little bit of a stalking thing, fraught
relationship
with your parents.
I wanted it to go totally full bore, and it just
so I guess in that sense, Deborah, your plans were foiled. I do perhaps feel threatened, but I also again feel fulfilled. Once again, we're like, I don't know, you haven't really given me anything where the whole pussy has been in it.
We just have to put our whole pussies into it, and then
when we do,
we'll get there.
You'll see what happens, Deborah Treisman.
Let's just see what happens. DT,
Debbie, yeah.
Debbie,
yeah,
DT.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you have anything else to talk about?
I don't know what's up. Maybe I'm just sort of like brain tired today. Maybe it's just like a weird time of day. But I just like feel like I have nothing else to say on the matter. Like I just sort of feel like.
How long is this so far? Like I honestly feel like we've only been going for like 20 minutes.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I like looked at the time and it was 2:06 and now it's 2:19, but I looked like 5 minutes in. I mean, I don't know. What have you been reading anything lately?
Oh, slay. Okay, yeah, you're right.
We've been going for 20 minutes. Oh my god.
Okay, we could do for like 10 more minutes. Yeah. Have I been reading anything good? No. No, I haven't read.
I mean, I really like the book I'm reading.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, I don't really feel like I have anything I can necessarily say about it. Yeah, we could talk about like what we're reading.
This is good.
Is there anything else like literature news or like anything like that?
They're making a movie of Otessa Moshfegh.
Your Rest and Relaxation, and she sort of like, which I was kind of shocked that Otessa would like. No, and I'm kind of shocked that she would like take that stance of like, I'm not exactly a fan of like an infant using a grown woman's body to explore her sexuality. Like, really
Yeah,
you're
I was a
not
little
Otessa.
weirded out by that too. I was
Like,
sort
I
of
kind of find it like, I don't know, you're kind of like, I mean, her work isn't like repulsive or taboo in
no,
that
but
way,
she
but it's
deals
certainly
with
like
the grotesque.
borders that, so like, I don't know, I feel like you would
Yeah.
be able to kind of appreciate
Maybe
that,
it
or
was
at least
taken out
like,
of context, her quote or something.
no, I kind of feel like she would say that for
Maybe
some
she's
reason.
trying to stir
Stir
the
some
pot,
shit? Yeah,
stir
exactly.
some shit up. I don't know.
Do you ever like
Stuff like
do you
that.
ever like daydream about giving interviews and saying like inflammatory, nasty things during the interview?
Sometimes I think about like maybe in 20 years somebody will be like, "Oh, this person influenced you, right?" And then just be like, "Who?"
I was
Or
like fantasizing that I was like for some reason being interviewed for like a book I had out or something, and for some reason like Charlie XCX was like brought up during the interview, and I said like, well, I hope she like dies of a fentanyl overdose. And I was like
Slay!
fantasizing about how like fun that would be to say.
Yeah.
Then I was thinking like, wow, my publisher would probably get like so mad at
Yeah,
me.
you would
And there would probably be like so many awful consequences for saying something like that.
Yeah, that's
Meanwhile, former UIC faculty member Laura Segal was able to basically say like "death to Palestine" in like the New Yorker.
That is
shirt.
crazy. Actually, I guess
like,
I'm gonna go back and read it now. Like
she actually like really didn't say that, but it was like a bunch of old Zionist women, and I'm sure those like on their death. The story was basically just a bunch of old Jewish women dying one after another, and it was like fine.
Okay,
Actually,
well,
the more I talk about
like,
it now, I kind of think I liked it more than I actually will update my score for that one and give it a 3 out of 5.
I need to look at it. I like actually just sort of didn't read it.
I mean, like, I don't necessarily think you have to.
I don't know. Maybe I'm curious now. I guess, I mean, no one's keeping score. It's not like it's
yeah, exactly. And I guess it's kind of the same thing with this.
thing.
It's like no one's necessarily keeping score with this podcast. I mean, and we've certainly
no
had
one's even
episodes.
watching this podcast.
I know. We've certainly like recorded episodes within the last like 2 months of our lives where I felt like, oh, like this is the one. Like this is like so fucking good. And then like either someone comments like brain dead review or like nobody at all even watches it. You know, it's like
yeah. Well,
I mean, is there anything else I can kind of like rack my brain on? I do kind of like the name Marianne. Marianne was the name of the girlfriend character in this.
Oh, slay.
And I knew a Marianne.
Is it with
growing
an I
up.
or a Mary space Anne?
In the story, it was with an I, but growing up, the girl I knew was Mary space Anne.
That's Mary
and
Anne and not Marion, because Marion sometimes.
Oh, do you think in the story it was Marion?
Well, I didn't read the story, but I feel like
no. In today's story.
Oh, today's story.
The girlfriend character was named Marianne.
Oh.
And I think her name was Marianne because we listened to it, and I think they said Marianne.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
okay, never mind.
Kind of in
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the old woman story, so I had the old woman name in my head.
And another interesting thing about that old woman story, which again is like reaffirming my thesis that like established writers just like sort of write the same character over and over again and then like, create this extended universe. So I guess in the short story it was like notable because it was like the protagonists of a couple of her novels like were like in this story as like some of the old women, and they all like die in this story. So,
oh my god, it's her swan song.
Oh, so maybe this is her deathbed story.
Oh shit. That's actually
and
kind of kill all your characters.
Yeah, and
like when you're dying.
She did do that. Like she killed like a couple of her characters of her like prominent novels. Wow, maybe talking more about it, Laura Segal.
No idea.
You know, you may be like an old grumpy Jewish bitch who is, you know, taking up valuable publishing real estate, but you know, maybe actually the more I talk about it, it's a little more cunt.
That's, you know, have to do some digging.
I really do feel like I need to be a little bit careful the more I talk. Like, listen, I really do not have anything against Jewish people. Whenever I mock anybody or say like fag, dyke, fucking bit, like it truly is facetious, and I'm going full throttle for a bit. And I feel like I have to be the one who apologizes and clarifies these things. But if I was perhaps a straight man, then maybe I wouldn't have to.
That's very true.
You know, a gay creator speaking to the hard realities of being a provocateur during Pride Month, you know? Not a provocateur during Pride Month, but I'm using Pride Month as an opportunity to talk about the challenges I face as a gay man within the space of provocateur content.
That's true. That is very true.
Ah. Well.
Wow.
Do you think Dasha would do good on like Traitors? What if they got Dasha and Anna on Traitors?
Oh my god. That'd be kind of incredible.
Actually, I feel like that actually would be incredible casting for Traitors season 4 if they got Dasha Anna, Trisha Paytas, Holly Madison.
That could be slay.
Yeah, and like I don't know who else. Like V Stiviano. Who else? And let's just say like a Tessa Moshfegh. They should put a Tessa Moshfegh or Emma Klein.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
get Sally Rooney on a season of Traitors.
That would be great. Wait, how come there's like
put Deborah Treisman on a season of
we never really
fucking
see any
Traitors.
crossover like authors going anywhere
into
else,
reality.
because we have celebrities like elsewhere that do other things, but
and
they're
that is something
writers.
that perhaps we also have touched on, maybe more so in our personal like back and forth in text message, but like the re-socialitification of the author.
Right. Let's bring it back.
And we're ready.
We're ready. We're available. We're ready to go to Italy.
Get Deborah Treisman on the Traitors, or get Deborah Treisman on like a pay-per-view fight against a fight event
slay.
against either of us.
Slay.
We're laying down the gauntlet. Deborah Treisman. You know, one thing I will say is as I'm talking, like what's ringing through my ears is I listened to your Aunt Aphrodite like monthly tarot reader, like and it was like, maybe be careful about what you post on the internet this month, girl.
That does not bode well.
Watch me catch a case from Deborah Treisman. Again, all of this is for entertainment.
This is comedy.
We're two dweebs that all we do is hole up in this apartment, get high, and talk about how we're going to accomplish many, many things
that we never even started.
Yeah, no, just down the line. I can't legally carry a firearm, and I'm not currently in possession of one. Hunter Biden just, got convicted of doing so, which, would you have sex with Hunter Biden?
Maybe.
I absolutely
if I
would.
was like, you look familiar, but I can't place you.
Dream three-way? Hunter Biden and Chet Hanks.
Who's Chet Hanks?
Tom Hanks' like black scent blackfishing son.
Oh no.
Ooh, that would be so fucking hot. Ooh, like two hood white guys that are like that come from like really rich families, like getting spit roasted by them. Ooh.
Wow.
I would love that.
That is that's really fruitful. This is sparking a lot of ideas for me in terms of like narrative content.
You know what I will say is one thing that pissed me off. So we can talk about literary news. I was going through a list of like buzzy upcoming novels for the summer, and I texted you this, and I texted you the list when I was reading it, where I was just like so pissed off reading that list, because I was like, look at all these like young, like cool writers getting their like experimental contemporary fiction novels published, and look at, they're all listed here because they're listed on LitHub or like Electric Lit or like whatever website I was reading. Like everybody's gonna read them, and it's gonna be so successful and great, and they're gonna be so happy, and they're gonna be able to brag about it for the rest of their life. But anyways, one thing that I found particularly I can't talk today. One thing I found particularly provoking for me personally was the fact that Chuck Tingle now has a mainstream literary career as well.
Who's that?
So Chuck Tingle is the guy who wrote all of those like getting fucked in the ass by my T-Rex who like time traveled from the future after reading my book. They were like memes, like kind of pre-pandemic and going, or like getting fucked in the ass by the COVID-19 virus after it, like, and he came out with all of those kind of like surrealist kind of parody, like Amazon ebooks, and he made a name for himself doing that. Wow. And now he literally has like a commercial fiction. He's got like another fucking horror novel coming out through like Penguin or something. Okay. And he's getting, like it's just like people who scam do end up then benefiting from that scam, and somehow me and you just can't hop that fence to start the scamming process.
We're just we need to go.
And this is why we like Deborah Treisman, you truly never have to worry about your safety from the two of us, because it's like, what are we gonna do? Like, you think either of us are gonna try to actually show up in person and hurt you? Like, probably not. Actually, probably like what? Like,
I can't afford a plane ticket to New York. I'm not getting my ass and. I'm assuming
like literally one swing of no, and literally if I like made the approach to like let's say like I'm so deluded that like I go with a knife and I like stalk Deborah Treisman. Like I feel like if I saw her in real life, I'd be like, oh my God, Deborah! Like, Deborah Treisman, girl, I talk about you every week on my podcast.
She would be like
again,
she would ask for your full name so she could get a restraining order against you.
Like, once again, Deborah Treisman,
completely
and the
joke.
whole like New Yorker
Parody, public figure
editorial
parody.
staff, like exactly, like we're like, please don't suck
Public figure
please
parody.
don't slap us on the please don't like throw the book at us.
Yeah, it's fine.
What else? I was gonna say something. Do you have anything to say?
I think that's it. Other than
And
that's it. That's
I mean,
actually it. I have
a
nothing
comment
going on.
I would like to ask of our listeners is, do I steamroll Devin? So for the first couple of episodes that we had like recorded, my loving boyfriend Lucas would listen and be like, I had to stop listening because you kept interrupting Devin. It made me so angry. And I was like, I
didn't really
don't
notice.
think I was.
I don't think you were.
And as long as you don't have any qualms about it, then I guess
No,
I don't have any qualms
qualms
about it. But I don't want to like, you know, what's been happening to me lately is when I'm talking, like sometimes my like vision will is my eye like freaking out?
No, but mine's been twitching, so maybe I maybe
I
you're
feel
picking
like
it up sympathetically.
Yeah,
we're
our
all tapped
our
in.
bestie empath.
Yeah, we're
abilities puss
locked
server.
in.
Yeah.
Exactly, the puss server.
It'll like as I'm talking, my like vision will start to like shake, and I'm like, I'm having some sort of like brain injury.
I hope you don't have a brain injury in my apartment. I wouldn't know what to do.
My, like nose starts bleeding.
No.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Maybe Deborah Treisman like really is some sort of like high-ranking like Illuminati witch, and she's able to like.
She's like, that's why we got locked out of my apartment.
That's why I had the stomach flu all last week. Yeah, like.
She's
Girl,
out to get us.
I don't fucking know.
She's out to get us.
Listen, I mean, if this is your first time listening,
sorry.
Yeah, we I mean, they can't all be hits.
They cannot all be hits, and you know, not everything in the New Yorker is a hit.
Yeah, and you know, I would encourage all of you to pick up Camille.
Yeah,
Bordas,
Camille Bordas'
her new novel, and just leave us a comment on any of these, just telling us whether or not there's characters that are suspiciously like us.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling this bitch lives
the
in
Chicago
this
comedy. Yes, she's listening to us.
And has been listening every single time we fucking record.
Could be. Really could be. Because, you know, maybe I should just try to get that story out before her novel. I mean, the novel's already out, girl.
Yeah, she probably has our fucking computers tapped and has copy pasted large chunks of our blogs and writing into this novel.
God, through the blog. Okay.
She's a plant to provoke us.
Yeah, well, it's working.
Anyways, but I will say, Camille, if you do happen to be listening, I will say all of your pictures are incredibly inspiring. Yeah. And you probably will be going on the Shrine mood board.
Yes,
the running Slay House review.
Print out a photo of you from the CVS.
Manifestation Chapel, because you're gorgeous, girl.
We are trying to.
And congratulations, because you truly have achieved everything.
Yes.
You've done it, girl. You've done it.
We want to be where you are.
Yeah, and by golly, we'll fight to get there.
We'll fight to get there.
All right, thank you for listening.
Thanks.
We'll be back next week.